it's with great pleasure I'd like to bring onto the sofa and the chair my panelists today. Annika, Brix, if you'd like to join. And Annika is a communications expert and co-founder of Oracelle. Julian, Daynov, a fashion industry and retail expert. Welcome, Julian. And Orsola de Castro, who is co-founder of Fashion Revolution and creative director of Fashion Revolution and Fashion Open Studio. Ursula's sporting some very good holes today. Welcome. So we're going to be talking today about power. Who is in control. And to start with, I just wonder if you would each mind just introducing yourselves. Annika, would you tell us a little bit about you and Oracelle?
Sure. My name is Annika Brix. I'm a communications expert and founder of an Oracelle PR agency, and we are identifying and communicating values for brands from the fields of fashion, beauty, tech, and lifestyle, and creating value together with initiatives and products with our clients.
Great, thank you. Julian.
Hi, my pleasure to be here. Thanks so much. My name is Julian, and I work as trend scout, and I work in trend research. I have a background in fashion buying and retail industry shopping, and I've been working for some of the biggest corporates dealing with production facilities and units all over the world. I'm currently based in Berlin and work on consulting various brands on how to identify sustainable supply chains and generate more green profit into their portfolios.
Great, and Orsola, we don't know you.
Orsola de Castro, I'm the co-founder and the global creative director at Fashion Revolution. Before that, I was an upcyclist designer for about 20 years or something, using waste of all types. I was also, together with my partner Filippo, the co-founder and co-curator of Aesthetica, which was the British Fashion Council initiative at London Fashionweek, which ran between 2006 and 2014. And I have recently also turned into an author, and I wrote a book called Loved Clothes Last, which was published by Penguin Life, and it's been translated into French and into Italian. And I'm a grandmother of 2.
Great. So I thought we'd start off talking about luxury and mainstream brands and who is holding the power and where the power lies at the moment within those brands. I think increasingly we're seeing designers threatened. Their position is no longer so powerful, while CEOs and big companies are being incentivized with bonuses to actually make the brands work more sustainably and to change the way that they're sourcing the materials and the practices that they're using. I'm wondering if who we're thinking the power should be with among these brands, and increasingly, is there power within the design community that increasingly designers are being recruited because they have sustainability backgrounds or credibility. So I think starting with Julian.
My pleasure. Well, it hurts my heart to basically say that the balance is completely different and not as we would all definitely want it to be. It's more and more the case that various huge conglomerates don't really rely on the strategy and vision of their own designers to work on a sustainable way and generate a more sustainable way of producing and distributing fashion. So everything is led by the word necessarily fashion industry. And as the fashion industry word stands for, the word industry, I think it is more related onto profit at the moment. And I believe none or just a few of the currently creatively leading brands and designers of our times are being able and being given a chance to live out and distribute their message on sustainability, on creative consume, on green consume. So that's why That's the wrong and shady part of profit. That's the wrong and shady part of an industry. But I don't believe that we can go ahead if we still keep on concentrating just on the industry and profit part, as it is with the huge CEO envisions.
Yeah. What do you think, Annika?
Absolutely, I totally agree. I think also it should be a creative decision to be sustainable, and it can be because as a fashion designer myself, I know that creative solutions also lie in the design. And if we integrate that and now coming full circle, become more regenerative with resources, but also with the design and the look and maybe the mega trends and not being always focusing on the next season, but on long-term trends or a look. Yeah, it all comes together and we can truly create change.
Mm-hmm. Orsola, is the power shifting?
No. I hate power. In fact, I think with age, I'm turning into an anarchist. So the first principle of anarchy is fellow man shall not exploit fellow man. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you know, for me, power needs to be redistributed equally across all of us. Yeah, I've said this before and I'm saying it again, but the one innovation that doesn't require technology that we've never tried is to treat each other as equals. That kind of implies that we all have power and none of us have power. So I know this is really utopistic, but I've also become quite attached to my utopia because 20 years ago I was saying things that I thought were utopistic, and now we're talking about it like they could be realistic. So I believe we need a complete shift, a complete reanalysis of this word, how we use it and what it does to us, what it did to millennia of women not to be in a position of power. So I want to see it from that point of view, from not having been in a position of power.
Mm-hmm. So fashion revolution has really helped, I think, create a more level playing field because it's allowed it's demanded more transparency, and it's given people the power to actually demand change. Do you think that's been happening fast enough? Do you think it has actually had an effect on the way the industry is working?
So I think that fashion revolution has had an effect, and it's taken 10 years, but it's absolutely proof that we can distribute that power amongst each other and revel in that pleasure of all being at somehow the same level. I mean, look at all of the teams. Look at Fashion Revolution Germany, for God's sakes. You know, these are teams of people that have really, really contributed to the conversation, each in their own very unique way. I think that there are shifts, and I actually do believe that we are in the middle of a bigger shift, you know, that COVID maybe acted as a magnifying lens and showed us all of the things that we've done wrong and that will be blockages to our evolution as people. We know that unless we break those blockages, there's a tiny chance that we will be enjoying nature in the next 50 years. You know, there's a lot that we need to shift and change. And again, I do believe that that is coming from the collective. With 7 point however many billion people on this planet, individualism, individual power, feels a bit grating. So I do believe that we are beginning to look at the methodology of how we've lived for so long and seriously questioning it. And it looks more wrong now than ever.
Yeah, Julian, how do you think we as citizens can change things? How do you feel that you can do that?
I love how we always refer to the industry being the biggest sinner on anything, and we don't see our own role as a tiny bit, as a huge part actually of that industry by consuming it. So any type of industry, any type of fashion or consumer-related policy is starting with us. So by the time we realize that we're the only ones who can actually change the consume drive, we would never, ever go up to a change. I know we all need like a recognition, and I know we all want to be identified as trendy, as cool and nice and wearing the latest fashion and so on and so forth. But by the time we're not realizing that style does not constitute overconsume, that fashion and fashionability and desirability and coolness does not constitute a belonging to a fast fashion pace, we're never going to ever be able to change this. So this is why I'm very fast proclaimer on saying that the change should start with us consuming less and exploring different ways of consume, exploring more sustainable ways of wearing things, investing into different pieces, and saying goodbye to the pace of quick, fast, happiness-bringing purchases, which don't make us really happy for more than a couple of days or for 1 or 2 Instagram pictures. So to me, the way is to lead the change up from us into a more sustainable consume. And this is going to trigger the industry to perhaps and hopefully finally produce less.
I worry, though, that we're speaking to the converted here. And how do you get that message out? How do you change people's behavior? And yeah, Annika, how do you feel about this? Is it possible to change people's behavior? Is that something that you try to do through your work?
Definitely, we try to do that, and I think we can always only lead by example and inspire the person next to us, and work from the resources that we have, and use maybe big initiatives to trickle and give a new mindset a go, and then really also request that from large scale brands or entrepreneurs to also really live up to the need to be more green or more sustainable, to really integrate that first and then go and communicate the message.
Great. We're going to talk about the gender pay gap and the power that exists between the sexes in a moment. But please do ask any questions. You can ask, I think, through a link if you're watching online. And I'll be coming at the end to see if there are any questions in the audience. But yeah, this gender pay gap. So, I mean, it exists not just in the fashion industry and not just in the boardrooms where the majority of CEOs are still men, white men, but also on the factory floor, in the cotton fields, as Nishanth was talking about, although he's trying to change that. But also where the majority of workers are women, paid poverty wages. How do we gain financial power? Because I think there is power in actually having the finances to control your own life. And why are we still having this conversation? Annika?
I think that's a great example for where fashion becomes political, and it is a feminist topic. That we, if as soon as we buy or consume product, that we empower or disempower people through the work that they do, and I think it's super important for everyone to step back from profit and to realize that if we give up power and distribute power to more people than only a few, or the large-scale profit a company has to make, then we can empower people. Education is a thing. I think the topic is super huge. We could talk about that for an hour for sure, but educate the women to know how much they can earn and what they can ask for, but also get on the political side and reclaim new laws and legal boundaries for that. That is one thing. And since the fashion industry is still led by so many men, we also need allyship. We need allies to step into power and just open up new ways for women and the whole supply chain to really thrive.
Yeah, Julian.
Well, I can't believe that we're actually in 2022 and I'm still getting a rush on my skin when I hear that there's still this huge gap we've always been fighting against. I just can't believe that we're at the phase where we have analyzed and realized that gender is a construct and gender is an illusion. And at some point when it all guts back to payment and working and integration, it still is there present. So I just can't believe we're still there. And but to have a glimpse of hope, I can just confirm that there's like more and more examples of women leading incredible companies, not just in fashion, but in tech and like any other related industries, who are exactly trying to shift that change and make sure that all of their employees, be it male or female, are equally paid and equally respected. Because necessarily, this is how the world is. Money is respect, payment is respect, and I also believe that this is the biggest constitution of not giving someone enough respect by paying him or her less for the same amount of job, for the same amount of tasks. So this would be my dream to basically see more and more and more led by example companies, be it male or female empowerment, to try and change it and finally shift it into the right balance.
Well, I think the sustainable fashion movement is the perfect example, because I am surrounded constantly by amazing women who are leading these conversations. And and I often look around and there aren't so many men still taking part in those conversations. Orsola, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, there is also the fact that we, especially as women, we've been taught for generations and generations that it's vulgar to talk about money. So we're not open about our money needs. And in fact, when we started the Money Fashion Power fanzine, which we printed in 2016 or so, well, we were working on it in 2016. I don't know whether we printed it in 2017 or... But one of the projects we were doing at the time was called the Garment Worker Diaries. And it was literally about understanding how much garment workers in Bangalore, Bangladesh and Cambodia were being paid. And things have changed really drastically since then. The new generation, Gen Z, whatever you want to call them, my children, talk about money. They would not dream of taking an unpaid job. I mean, I've taken unpaid, still, well, I do it for passion now, but I mean, when I was younger, I did it for necessity. So it's how we speak about this money, about the need for this equity and equality around this money. But I completely agree with you, Julian, that it's in 2022, we are still seeing in what we call civility and civilization, this kind of behavior, which is everything but civil or civilized, frustrating.
Yeah, deeply frustrating. Yeah. I just want to move on a little bit to working within local communities as well. And although we have this, incredibly connected global world, the power that there is to be had in working locally, tapping into local communities, local supply chains, creating local systems. And I'm just wondering where the power lies between the small and the big, and the local and the global. And how do we pay attention to the details while also making sure that we see the bigger picture? Orsola, talk about the small and the big and how they work together.
No, first of all, I'd like to ask you all a favor. Maybe we do a hashtag or something. First, I want to know two things. One, what's the opposite of power? And two, what's a better word? What is a better word to use than power to say what we're trying to say? Because we're not talking about power, we're talking about something else. We're talking about something that is more akin to respect or, I don't know, please reply, I don't know where.
Maybe it's impact.
Impact, yes.
Impact or collaboration or co-work.
Yeah, I mean, let's find another word that really, really means what we mean to say when we want to talk about power. I haven't got it. But I was at a talk here a few days ago and I had the same thing. So just go on Fashion Open Studio and if you can think of a better word for power, just put it on some kind of a message or go on mine on Instagram and do the same because I think it's going to be interesting. I'm not satisfied with the word, so I'm stressing to reply. But the glory of the small, the potency, maybe better than power, of something that doesn't want to be upscaled, but begs to be replicated. We're talking about uniqueness and your geography, your materials, the things that are around you, the poetry around you, your culture, your soil. That's small, that's local community, that's an industry that we've long forgotten since it's been taken over by power. This industry designed itself to be powerful and exploitative and everything else. So yes, for me, really we need to focus on the smaller things and realize that there is safety in numbers, so many small things provide a barrier to the huge ones that always try to run them over.
Yeah, safety in numbers. Yeah. Julian, is power a dirty word?
In fact, as we just heard, it totally is. And I fully agree with you that basically power, it needs another aspect. It needs another flavor. And
I mean, don't ever call me powerful. I will take that as a real offense.
Totally see this, really. Absolutely agree. But on the other word, because if we want to have impact, if we want to have distribution, if we want to carry out a message somehow, we still need that industrial superpower, in a way, to carry it out and make more and more people live a trend, discover a company, discover a new production facility, discover a new way of consume.
Maybe it's
so
knowledge.
This is why, absolutely, it's like about being informed, and it's not about having the power over something.
But it's also what you were saying, sorry to interrupt, but it was really interesting what you were saying before about the industry. We talk about the fashion industry, completely forgetting that it's made out of people.
It's made out of us.
Even the brands are made out of people at the end of the day.
And we drive it, like we're the ones driving. It's like, of course, there's someone else in the driving seat, be it as a CEO, as designer, or something else, but still.
We're running out of time. Do I have time for a quick question? 2 questions. Yay. Okay. Okay, we've got a question. Thank you for asking from our audience online. What can we as consumers do to convince major fashion corporations to start the process of degrowth when their business models are only built around profit? Who would like to answer that?
I can take that. I think nowadays we have much more possibilities than ever because we can call out. We can call out people on social media and brands and request. We can get in the dialogue. We can start like a grassroots movement, as we all did maybe then with the organizations here, because we started asking questions. And I think that's when, industry now starts to listen. And I think it's a great point that you made up with starting by yourself and being responsible for every step that we do. In the corporations, we can do that. And as a consumer, we can also, shift our energy, which is our money, which is then power, towards companies we want to support, where we are sure we do good and produce less.
So start with ourselves and our own wallets. Julian?
The only way we can basically be re-educating companies, or the industry as we call it, by excluding ourselves from this, is to not consume their goods. I mean, this is the power we have to make them redecide things, to make them reconsider, rethink, replan, and re-engineer their whole supply chain processes. So this is the only way how we can re-educate and actually lead a change. And to me, leading by example, which you just mentioned, is basically what I totally believe in. And since social media gave us the incredible impact to be our own megaphone into various communities, I believe that we really have this power, again, to use the word, we really have the power to lead a change, to provoke something, to make sure people start thinking about the impact of it.
Is this possible to re-engineer the systems, Orsola?
So for me, it's about repairs. So in fact, you were there because we're always together. But we were doing a talk at Show Studio, which you were also moderating. And there was a young girl who said to me, asked a question and said, you know, my skirt is from Boohoo. You know, what do I do? Do I stop buying? And, you know, for this generation to stop buying is a bit, you know, they buy and they resell. So they've got this kind of innate sense of circularity and reusing and sending it over to somebody else because that's, you know, they have no attachment to their shitty clothes because they know that they're not worth much more than, you know, little. And I told her, look, you know, just take that Boohoo skirt, and when it breaks, repair it. And then you take a picture of that and then you tag Boohoo. And you say, Boohoo, your skirt broke. It was really easy to repair. It was a really simple stitch. My cat could have sewn it. I don't want to buy a new one because I'm in love with this one because this one is mine. And it is around longevity. You know, we hide behind words that we don't understand. Circularity is one of them, like sustainability was until recently. If you check the definitions, we're using them in the wrong way. But longevity is beautiful. And we all crave it for ourselves. Why shouldn't we crave longevity for the things that we own? I want to be buried with most of my clothes, frankly. And so, yes, I think that this is what we can do. We can show a united front of love and ways of caring for the things that we own. And that's a big message. Garment workers take about a day and a half to learn their skill. Speed kills skills. So if we show that we want slow, long-lasting, still affordable, because there's plenty of people who can't afford to buy better, but that's it, longevity, and very outwardly spoken about it.
Great. I'm sorry, we're going to have to wrap up now. I feel like we could talk for another hour or so on this, but I feel there was some very powerful messages came out today. And yeah, I just want to thank you all very, very much for being here with us today.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.